Hello there, Ben Bowers, the Spirit Specialist, and I'm here today to talk to you about a new release. Actually, at the time of recording, it's due to launch tomorrow from the Lindores Distillery, or Lindores Abbey Distillery, although they do just put Lindores on their whisky releases. This is called Thiron, maybe Thiron, because my French pronunciation is pretty terrible. If you're a bit of a nerd like me, you also might want to take the high out and just call it Lindores Tron. This harks back to close ties between the Abbey and another Abbey, which I will explain shortly. But we are looking at an increasingly saturated Scotch whisky market, not just Scotch, but whisky in general around the world. So new distilleries or marketeers or brand managers or everything like that, and young distilleries, there is so much new stuff coming out at the moment that you need something, some little USP that's going to make you stand out. And Lindores has the advantage of being, as I will explain, the site of the oldest written reference to whisky in some form or another, or at least aqua vitae. So they're very much kind of using these historical links to produce some of their bottlings. We had the Friar John Cor collection, the congregation has called them. And this is what will be an annual release with the ties between one abbey and another, as I say, which I'll explain. Now, it's all well and good having those historical links and using them as kind of branding and everything like that and having a story behind each bottling. Does that mean it necessarily tastes any good? Well, before I tell you what this tastes like and if it isn't any good, let me give you some background information behind the Lindores Distillery and also this particular release.
Lindores Abbey is a Tironesian monastery built in the late 12th century on the edge of Newburgh, Fife. It's claimed that the first written reference to whisky being produced in Scotland relates to the Abbey, as the Exchequer Rolls of 1494 list that, by order of King James IV, 8 bols of malt be presented to the monk Friar John Cor to produce aqua vitae. It's thought that Friar Cor resided at Lindores, and it is more than likely that distilling of some form was taking place well before this date, and as such the Abbey has become known as the spiritual home of Scotch whisky. Now a ruin, the grounds and a neighbouring farm became to be owned by the MacKenzie Smith family, who held the title of Custodians of Lindores. Drew MacKenzie Smith and his wife Helen had long wanted to build a distillery to honour the historical links to whisky in their grounds, and excavation began in 2013. However, archaeological investigations delayed full construction until 2016, with a visitor centre opening in October 2017 and distillation commencing in December of that year. The water for whisky production is taken from a borehole near the distillery, meaning the water used is from the same source as would have been used at the Abbey. Barley is sourced from the nearby Fife region, and in June 2019, local farms have supplied concerto barley from fields that would have been in Abbey lands. While most new whisky distilleries have produced a gin to provide an ongoing revenue stream while spirit was maturing in cask, Lindores Abbey instead released an aqua vitae based on recipes found at the Abbey. Whereas originally this would have been essentially new make spirit infused with herbs found in the local area, Lindores Abbey aqua vitae uses a blend of herbs and spices including Douglas fir and sweet Sicily, along with a maceration of dried fruits. The distillery has 1 wash still and 2 spirit stills, which are dubbed sister stills. This allows for experimentation with differing cuts to produce a variety of different flavour profiles. Maturation also takes place with a vast array of cask types, with a combination of ex-bourbon casks, STR or shaved, toasted and recharred wine barrels, and Oloroso sherry butts being used for their first release. The Lindores Thiron 2024 edition is the first of an annual release that celebrates the centuries-old ties between Lindores Abbey and l'Abbaye de Thiron in the French village of Tironesian, from where the Tironesian monks who founded Lindores originated. Spirit matured in ex-bourbon casks and French red wine barriques are married with whisky that spent time in virgin oak barrels made with wood sourced from the forests that surround Tironesian itself. It's bottled at 49.4% ABV.
Okay, so I was sent a sample bottle by Lindores, so thank you very much, Murray. Much appreciated when samples are sent particularly to retailers. It's something that's sadly not done as often as it should be, in my humble opinion, and this is speaking as somebody that's been on both sides of the till. As a salesperson selling to retailers and also now as a retailer for nearly 4 years, which is quite frightening. There are far too many whiskey brands out there that will do a new release will send it to retailers, but not send them any kind of sample. And it doesn't need to be that much. A miniature, a 30 ml miniature, you know, slightly smaller than this, is all you need. Just enough for the retailer who's selling your brand to taste it and know what it's like. And also customers that walk in and actually want to try it. Yes, a customer might turn around and go, oh, it's not for me. It's better that they go around, oh, it's not for me, than buy the bottle, take it home, and then go, oh, I didn't like that. I'm not going to go back to that one again. Give them the chance. So whiskey brands, if you're watching, probably not, because it's nothing to do with your brand. But these are absolutely vital to the people selling your products. Yes, there are influencers and whiskey reviewers and everything like that. They're not selling it. They do not have a vested interest in selling your product. They do have a vested interest in saying it's amazing, so you keep sending them new samples and they keep getting free stuff. But for the people that are actually selling your products, not enough whiskey brands are sending this little stock for the whiskey retailer, the person selling your product, to go, I know what it's like, I really like it, or even if I don't like it, I've got the stock, but at least I know how to sell it, or I can give it to somebody that might like it and buy the bottle. Rant over. Anyway, so Thiron 2024, because there will be a 25, 26. I don't actually know how many years this inaugural release will be going. This is the inaugural release. How many years this release will be going for. So it'll be interesting to see how long that goes. Right, so I did a tasting with Lindores and Murray 18 months ago, where we did pretty much the full range. We did the Cask of Lindores and everything like that. And we did the aqua vitae to start with as well. Sorry, not the aqua vitae. We did the new make spirit to start with. And there is a fruitiness on the new make spirit that we discovered going through the entire range follows through all the way. It is this fruity, kind of like slightly sweet fruit character that runs all the way through their range. So it will be interesting to see what this does in terms of, does that continue? And also, how much impact does this, essentially this Thiron oak, how much impact does this have, considering we've also got bourbon and STR casks? The use of those two casks kind of implies to me that if they would have tried just Thiron oak on its own, maybe it either wasn't doing enough, or it was just kind of like not working enough for them and they needed to use the other cask makeup just to either bring more complexity, soften edges, I don't know what, but just to kind of, you know, it worked out better using these. Now the core Lindores bottling is bourbon, STR, and Oloroso sherry. We don't have the sherry in this. We've got the bourbon, we've got the STR, and then we've got the Thiron oak. So, and it's virgin oak as well. So, French virgin oak, bourbon, and a wine barrique. So, on the nose, very fruity up front. Now, bottled at 49.4 as well. Very specific ABV. Once you start getting to that point levels, it kind of implies to me that they have looked at, right, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, 0.6. They've narrowed it down into this is where we want to go. So not cask strength, but obviously slightly higher than usual. You know, we're starting to find a lot of whiskey releases now are starting to go that slightly higher route. Does put the price up because you're increasing the duty on the cost of the bottle, but the offset of, yes, it makes it slightly more expensive, but you're getting a more complex product, you know, arguably better flavor profile. I have no issues with that whatsoever. But it's very fruity up front. There's a touch of spice on the background, but I get kind of orchard fruits. It's not apple and pear, it's damson, plum, sweet raspberry, a touch of strawberry in there. Almost as though it's kind of like red fruits and dark red fruits, kind of a bit of summer pudding with a little bit of, say, icing sugar sprinkled on top. But then there's also a little touch of kind of like sweet cinnamon in there as well. It's on the sweeter scale, but there is weirdly a bite on the nose that is actually not making it too sweet and too flabby. There's quite a nice balance in here, but it's very, very fruity on the nose, straight up front. Okay, so on the palate. So right on the tip of my tongue, very kind of sugary sweet, kind of like barley sugar, right on the front. As soon as it goes in the mouth, the first instance I got, and that was very much on the tip of my tongue, was like a sweet barley sugar that then expands, and the red fruit, the dark red fruit that comes on the nose absolutely comes through on the palate as well. There's still this spiciness. There's a nice little hint of drying oak, that just stops it becoming too sugary, too sweet, but allows that sweetness to carry on through. Now, there is a video in the sort of marketing package that that Lindores have sent out to various retailers and everybody else, where the master blender, she does a tasting notes with it, and quite a lot of times she says fruity plum jam. It's like almost like the trigger word for this is what I get out of this is fruity plum jam, and that's actually pretty accurate. There is a jammy note to it. Plums, yes. Blackcurrant jam, I definitely get. There is that sweetness, but there's a slight tartness to it, as well as that kind of bite of oak. But the oak it's not too drying, but it's just reining everything in a little bit. It's really nicely balanced. It's very, very Moorish. It's very Moorish. It's the oak comes through more towards the back half and on the finish. I don't know if I prefer the sweetness to carry on slightly, because it just dulls the finish a little bit, not by much. And that might also be that slightly increased ABV as well, is just that little extra bite of the alcohol is just cutting the sweetness off a little bit. Now, I do have a sweet tooth, so it might be that I just kind of would prefer it being a little bit sweeter to run through a little bit longer. But I love the fruitiness on this, and that is a character of Lindores all the way through their range. It's really interesting. I think the oak notes that's coming through is the Thiron oak. The red fruit, the dark red fruit, must be that STR element, and then just that overall sweetness, I'm pretty certain, is that bourbon cask. It's not really vanilla sweetness. It's very much a barley sugar sweetness. It's kind of like barley sugar, not quite candy floss, but a icing sugar sweetness that's on there as well. Might be a touch too sweet for some people who prefer kind of like drier whiskies, you know, drier, more astringent whiskies. I think it's really nicely balanced. I'd love to see what it was like just with the Thiron oak, the virgin French oak, and that's it. And it kind of feels a bit like, not that it's a cop-out that they've used the bourbon and the STR, but it kind of feels like a bit of a shame that for their first one, they didn't just go full-on Thiron oak and that's it. It might be that it takes it a little bit too far away, that actually they want to do something like this as the first one, and we might find maybe the second or the third, or maybe even just a one-off of, well, this is what it's like with just the oak. I'd love to know what just that Thiron oak is doing to the new make spirit, because it's really good new make spirit to start with. So you've already got a great foundation to take it in different directions. But if you like your whiskies on the slightly sweeter side, really good balance. It does not need water. I don't feel like it would benefit from adding any water in. I think they've done a very, very good job in getting that ABV pretty much bang on, because there's this little bit of heat on this that's just complementing everything else that's going on. It's very, very Moorish, very, very impressive. So, as I say, this is launching tomorrow, so by the time you watch this video, unless you're getting on there as soon as it goes up, which should be hopefully later today, it is available. I don't have a lot. There is not a huge amount out there, but like I say, they've said this is a limited edition, but I've not seen anywhere that says there are this number of bottles. But it is available through me at the moment, so www.spiritspecialist.com. Retailing at $59.99, which I think for a limited edition, I think is pretty damn reasonable, and I think compared to the rest of the range is absolutely fair. So give it a go. I highly recommend it. That is me done for this video. I shall see you at the next one. Cheers.